Hello everybody, welcome back to Simply Breeze. My name is Bree if you are new here, and today I'm taking you along with me as I make homemade mac and cheese with some smoked lake trout. And this whole video, I am taking you along with me this whole week to show you a realistic look at the way that I cook quick and easy convenience meals and feed Reed and I. And this is also going to show you how Reed and I use the canned foods that we preserve, the meals in a jar, all of that hard work on top of using some wild game that we have caught this past hunting season and fish that we catch. Reed and I do very much try to live sustainably and self-sufficiently. We are growing our self-sufficiency skills here on our tiny property and learning how to homestead and just live cohesively with the land and be independent from some of the systems in place because they're not always guaranteed. Reed and I also work full time. Reed commutes to work, I commute to work 3 days a week, and I work from home 2 days a week. And so I drive an hour one way, and so I lose some time. And so my time is valuable, and our meals need to be relatively easy for me to make because I'm usually really hungry by the time I get home. So let's get this pot filled with water so that way we can get the pasta on to boil and we can get some cheese shredded, and I'll fill you in more. Alright, so we're going to salt our water a little bit, and we are going to get this on to a rolling boil so we can go ahead and get a pound of pasta cooking. That is what the recipe that I found called for, was a pound of macaroni noodles, which is exactly what I've got. And I will link this recipe for you down below, and all of the recipes that we make this week, I will link some sort of comparable recipe or the recipe that I am following. Alright, so now that our water is on to boil, we're going to keep an eye on it. Once it's at a rolling boil, we will put the pasta in. But now it's time to start preparing our cheeses. So I looked up the recipe for this. Let me see. And this was the recipe I found the most intriguing. And it comes, you're supposed to use a couple different cheese, but it does say for Gruyere cheese. I don't think I'm saying that right, but it says 2 cups. I most definitely don't have 2 cups of the Gruyere cheese. And so honestly, I'm probably just going to be winging the cheese. And I think that's one thing about homemade mac and cheese is I think it'll probably be pretty forgiving, so I'm not super worried about it. And this little bit of Gruyere, I'm sure will complement it really well. I've actually never used Gruyere cheese, so I'm going to give it a smell, just so you're not all weirded out. It smells like cheese. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the ends off, and let me bring you on in. So it has a rind on it, and there's a rind on this end, so we're just going to cut the rind off because we don't want that in our mac and cheese. Okay, we'll set that aside. We can use this on like a soup or something, and then we'll get that shredded on up. I also have a sharp cheddar here and a Monterey Jack, and this recipe calls for Gruyere cheese and sharp cheddar cheese. So we will do this sharp cheddar here. It does call for Parmesan, but I already have pre-shredded Parmesan cheese, and I may do a little bit of the Monterey Jack. So let's get this guy open. Okay, this one has also a little bit of a rind on it. I don't know if you can see that very well. I don't know if we need to keep that, but I think I'm just going to cut it off. Again, I've never used these cheeses before, so we're making it work. I also want to taste test this super sharp cheddar, so let's... Oh, that's good. It's a good cheese. I'm actually going to test the Gruyere too. Just a little bit. It's a very dry cheese. The flavor is more subtle. It is still good though. I absolutely love cheese. Fun fact. If you have a food processor, you could probably run all of this through the food processor. I just didn't feel like getting it out and having to clean it. So I don't mind shredding it all by hand. Here, and just so you guys know, so you're tracking what I'm doing, the extra sharp cheddar was 0.39 pounds, and the Gruyere cheese was 0.28. I'd say that's about, maybe more than I thought it was. That's probably 2 cups of shredded Gruyere cheese, which is nice. So that'll mean that I'll get about 2 cups of sharp cheddar, and then I have a regular cheddar that I'm gonna throw in there too. Perfect. Yeah, and I'd say that's about another 2 cups. And then I already have pre-shredded orange cheddar, so we're gonna add the rest of that. That's probably maybe what, a half a cup. And then I just pulled this guy out of the freezer because I pre-shred cheese and freeze it. So let's add about that. All right, our water is at a beautiful rolling boil. We are going to add all of this pasta. What I should have done, and I had this thought while I was shredding the cheese, so I should have done this in a bigger pot so I can combine everything. However, when I got home, I just wanted to get dinner ready, so it is what it is. We may make 1 extra pan. We may make 1 extra dish. And I may have to put this in a bigger pot because I don't think that's big enough. Learn from my mistakes, please. Yeah, I don't think this is, this isn't gonna work. Alright, let's grab a bigger pot. There we go. So just be careful. Don't do what I did. Okay, and now we're also gonna get our oven preheating to 350. That's what we're gonna bake this at. This is gonna be a baked macaroni. I don't know if I said that to you already, but we will be baking this macaroni because I do like the nice crispy layer on top. For homemade mac and cheese, I did see a recipe for mac and cheese made in the Instant Pot, which I almost debated doing, but I was really craving that nice crunchy top layer. So one of these days I will go ahead and try making mac and cheese in the Instant Pot, and I will take you guys along with me when we do that. Okay, the water looks like it's coming back up to a boil. So the pasta needs to cook, what did the directions say? We want to cook it al dente. We don't want it cooked the whole way. So we are going to cook it for about 7 minutes. It is currently 7:12. And so at 7:19, we'll turn that off, we'll strain it. We can get everything mixing on up. So the next thing that we need is our butter. How much butter? It says 4 tablespoons of butter. What does this look like? That's 3. Okay, so we'll get 3 in there. And I'll cut another tablespoon of butter here. So our butter's melted. We've got 1/3 of a cup of flour here. We're gonna whisk it on up. And then it says to cook this for about a minute. And we're cooking the flour here so we don't get like a raw flour flavor. And then we're gonna add, this calls for milk and heavy cream. I have milk and half, so we're just gonna use half and half. So it calls for 3 cups of milk and 1 cup of heavy cream. We are gonna add, let's see how much milk. That's about 1.5 cups of milk. We're going to top this off at 4. And then we're going to gradually whisk this in. It says continue whisking until you see bubbles on the surface, and then continue cooking and whisking another 2 minutes. We're going to whisk in the salt and the pepper. However, the pasta is done, and so we need to drain the pasta real quick. We're going to drizzle just a little bit. We don't need a whole lot. We just want to make sure those noodles don't stick. Fantastic. Okay. We can turn this back up a little bit. Okay. We're going to go ahead and add 2 cups. It says to keep this, it doesn't say to change the temperature. I'm just going to make sure it's on medium. And then it says to go ahead and add 2 cups of the shredded cheese and whisk until smooth. So we're going to say about 1/4 of this. Okay. We'll just whisk. We want this cheese to melt. We don't want any of this going to waste. That's good stuff. So we'll get it all scraped out. Okay, we're going to spray this 9x13 really quickly. That's just going to help keep the pasta from sticking. And then I'm going to need these to go ahead and put the mac and cheese in. Okay, so there's about half of that. We're going to layer in some of this pre-shredded cheddar. Then we're going to layer the last bit back on. And again, we don't want any of this sauce going to waste. Like, these cheeses were not cheap. So we want to get the absolute most out of them. And then the topping for this called for us to melt some butter and mix up breadcrumbs and shredded cheese and paprika. I'm not doing that. I'm just going to sprinkle on some mozzarella cheese. Or, wow, not mozzarella, this is Parmesan. We're sprinkling on some Parmesan cheese. And some breadcrumbs. And that says to bake until golden brown for about 30 minutes. So that took a little longer than I thought. That was not as quick and easy as I thought it was gonna be. So lesson learned. But that mac and cheese is gonna be a lot of meal prep for this week. So we'll probably be eating it a lot throughout the week, or we'll freeze half of it, to be determined. So while we're waiting on that, we're gonna clean up our mess. Okay, I turned the oven off. This is looking pretty golden. It's looking nice and golden. It smells really good. This uses a lot of cheese. So if you are planning on making your own homemade mac and cheese, just be aware this probably took well over 6 cups of shredded cheese. So lots and lots of cheese. No doubt it's gonna be absolutely delicious. We're really gonna enjoy it. I'm gonna let this rest for a minute and then we'll get the rest of dinner plated on up. For the rest of dinner, for our protein, because I like to have a protein with dinner especially. I try to have a protein with every meal, but dinner for sure. We have some smoked lake trout. I will link the video where we smoked all of this lake trout if that's something you're interested in. Reed and I, fun fact, our second date he took me fishing and that was all she wrote. So we like to incorporate the fish that we catch into our meals. And so our lake trout, it's already cooked and ready to go.
Thunderstorms or tonight?
You may have noticed I forgot a vegetable, and at this point it's 8 o'clock and I really want to eat. So we're not worried about a vegetable tonight, but let's give this a taste test. Homemade mac and cheese, guys. All the way. Oh, it's so good. Okay, so you guys have a great night, and I'll see you the next time we're in the kitchen. Bye. All right, guys, I'm on my lunch, and I'm bringing you another video of things I do with our canned items. And this is the canned turkey that we made together from the turkey carcasses that I pressure canned. And I need to make myself a quick lunch. We don't have any leftovers in the house, so I'm gonna make myself a chicken quesadilla. I may actually make 2 because I only have small tortillas. So we got cheese, got the tortillas, we got the chicken. Let me get this cast iron heating up. And naturally some butter, because you need butter. Fantastic. And I don't need to do anything special to this chicken. It will heat through when I throw it onto the quesadilla. So we're gonna throw just a little, that might be a lot. We'll just do a little sliver of butter here. Perfect. Okay, and all I need, I'll take a spoon. We're gonna add a little bit of cheese. We're gonna take some of this turkey. Did I say we're making chicken quesadillas after I told you that I'm using turkey? I've been really bad about that. I just can't seem to make the transition from one to the other. But we're just gonna go ahead and place our turkey. It is shredded turkey. We're gonna go ahead and chuck it onto the quesadilla. We're gonna spread it out. There we go. We're gonna add a little bit more cheese. Fantastic. Let's see, what does the bottom of this look like? We're still good. Oh. Perfect. Look at that. That's beautiful. We can turn the heat down now. Okay. Let's add some cheese. Let's add some turkey. And just like that, thanks to the fruits of my labor, a couple of weeks ago, my lunch came together in 10 minutes. And now I gotta go back to work. Bye, guys. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Whew, I just finished work. I went for a walk after work. It was a little chillier than I would have liked, but today is Taco Tuesday. And I wanted to take you along with me, as not only are we making fish tacos from perch that Reed and I caught a while ago, it needs to be used, but I'm also going to go ahead and make homemade tortillas. So I wanted to take you along with me, show you how we do it. I don't make tortillas every time we have Taco Tuesday. However, just a fresh homemade tortilla sounded absolutely amazing, especially for something like fish tacos, which we don't have often. So I figured, why not? I will not be kneading the dough by hand. I am going to use my KitchenAid stand mixer to knead the dough, just to keep the mess all self-contained. I'm not here for the mess right now. But you can 100% make this dough by hand, mix it by hand, and knead it if you don't have a stand mixer like I do. This recipe is not my own recipe. I do not yet feel comfortable or have the base knowledge to go ahead and make up my own bread recipes, but this tortilla recipe I have used before and I do absolutely love it. And for this recipe, I do want the dough hook attachment on my KitchenAid. All right, so this recipe calls for 3 cups of all-purpose flour. Right here. And we're just gonna fluff the flour a little bit. Two. And what makes this recipe unique is that it calls for baking powder. That is the leavening agent. That's what causes it to rise. So that's what we're going to use. I can't find my ½ teaspoon measure, so we're using the 1/4 teaspoon. But it calls for 1 teaspoon of salt and 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Ooh. So there's 1, 2, 3. Get the 4th one. 4. Okay. And then we need a teaspoon of salt. 1, 2, 3, 4. This recipe also calls for 1 cup of warm water. So we're going to pour that in there. And then it calls for 1/3 cup of a neutral flavored oil. This is the oil that I'm going to use. It's also the only thing I have on hand right now. There we go. It's about 1/3 cup. Right, I'm going to raise my mixer and I'm going to put it on a medium speed or a light speed for now. We're gonna let this go for 5 minutes and then afterwards we're gonna let it rest. All right, so it has been 5 minutes. we go. Let me show you what this dough looks like. All right, so the dough, it's not sticky. It's very, very soft. So I'm gonna go ahead, take the hook out, maybe. Oh, no, come on, there we go. Take all the dough off, and we're gonna let this rest. Yeah, that's beautiful. It's not sticky. Oh, that dough is great. So we're gonna let this rest for about 20 to 30 minutes. I'm gonna go get cleaned up after my long walk. I'm gonna cover this with a damp towel so the dough does not dry out, and I will see you guys back here when we are dividing this up into pieces to make into tortillas. At this point, I have already gotten washed up, and it is time to go ahead and get the dough rolled out. So this recipe says to divide this recipe into 16 small pieces, and so that is exactly what I am doing here. I got my bench scraper, and I'm going ahead and cutting it in half, and then from there, I just continue to divide it in half into smaller pieces. I'm not going to make this exact, and I'm not measuring all of this out. I do have a food scale, but I just really didn't care that all of these were equal size. I just eyeballed it all. Once I went ahead and got those divided up into pieces, I put all of the little dough balls back into my KitchenAid mixer bowl so I could start rolling out these tortillas. I will warn you, my tortillas do not roll out into a perfect circle. I don't know how to get them to roll out into a perfect circle, and honestly, they taste delicious whether or not they are actually circular shaped. So we don't care, but maybe one day I will achieve a nice circular tortilla. But until then, we will enjoy them nonetheless.
Well, what did you do? Just started a computer?
I'm gonna go ahead and get this skillet heated up high with some high heat. I'll also get the centerpiece heated up to see if I can get multiple tortillas going at once. I don't know if this one was hot enough yet, but I know for sure the skillet was hot enough. So we'll let these go for a few more seconds, and I'm going to roll out more tortillas. Okay, so now our tortillas are on the skillet, and typically they take anywhere between 45 seconds to about a minute and a half, and that really just depends on the temperature of the skillet that the tortillas are on. So the first couple usually take a little bit longer per side, but near the end they start cooking pretty quickly, and you actually need to make sure you turn your skillet down so that way you're not burning your tortillas. I have burned a couple tortillas simply because the skillet just kept getting hotter and hotter, and they didn't need to cook for as long as the first couple that I started making. All right, so while I'm finishing up the tortillas, Reed is actually going to go ahead and get the fish prepped. So these are perch that we caught last ice fishing season. They need to be used, and perch is absolutely phenomenal if you've never tried it. But Reed's gonna tell you what he's doing.
So, my go-to is always shore lunch. There's quite a bit of different breading that you can use, but I'm a shore lunch guy. Today, we're going to be using some Cholula as a binder. You can also use like Frank's Red Hot,
Eggs.
water, eggs, but the Cholula gives it just a little bit of a zing. So that's what we're going to do. So I put our fish into a little bowl. And we're gonna put a healthy amount of Cholula in there. Mix it around, making sure just all of the sides are covered. Now before I do any breading, what I like to do is I like to get my oil nice and hot before I even start the breading process, so I can immediately take them from this, bread them, and put them right in the hot oil.
So I'll get the tallow going if you want to keep walking them through what you're doing.
Well, I'm just going to use a plastic bag. We're going to put our Cholula coated perch fillets in the bag. We're going to add some shore lunch. Close the bag. And then just like shake and bake, you can kind of tell if you need to add a little bit more shore lunch once it starts sort of clumping up a little bit.
So we are using tallow from the very first cow that we bought. I use it for cooking, not necessarily on this level, but I am trying to make sure that some of the oils that Reed and I consume are cleaner, healthier oils for us. Tallow is a great oil, and so I'm excited we're frying fish in it today. Reed is partial to canola oil and peanut oil, but today he is entertaining me and we're doing tallow. So we're gonna let this get up to temperature. It needs to, I don't know what temp it needs to be. It needs to get up to 375. Reed is the fish fry master. I don't actually generally fry much of anything, and Reed's the one who takes care of all the frying. Again, when it comes to fish, Reed's all over it. All right, we're just about there. Is that enough oil, you think? Or
Yeah, that should be good.
Okay.
All right, now we're at 375. One of the biggest things with frying fish is making sure not to overcook it. Typically with these small perch fillets, you're only going to need about 2 minutes per side, just until it starts turning brown. Then you can flip it, and you'll sort of know when it starts crumbling that that's when they're done. Also, watching your oil temperature while you're doing this. When you start putting fish fillets in, the temperature will drop, and then it will raise, so you do need to sort of keep an eye on your flame so that you get it consistently at 375.
So I'm gonna make homemade coleslaw dressing so we can have coleslaw to top our tacos with. And the last time we had fish tacos, I bought a coleslaw dressing and it did not sit right with my stomach. So I'm hoping making it from scratch makes the difference. So this is about half a cup of mayonnaise. I need 1 full cup of mayonnaise. We'll get a new one. It was a garage sale find anyways.
Well, the thermometer itself works. It's just I just melted the egg.
Alright, let's give this a taste test to see what we think. I've never made homemade coleslaw dressing before. I don't know. The thing is, I don't actually know what it needs. I don't know how to adjust this.
Is this card done?
Sounds like under meat.
It's not bad. Let's see what Reed thinks. What do you think, honey? We're just feeding Reed and I. I don't care that I'm double dipping, just so you know.
Sure.
Sure? I don't know, you want salt? You want pepper?
I don't know. I want coleslaw.
We're just winging it. You can also notice I didn't measure anything. I never do. I measure things for recipes for you guys, and that is really hard. I think it's gonna be good. All right, we're gonna mix it with the pre-shredded coleslaw mix. We made a whole bunch of other stuff from scratch. I just got pre-shredded coleslaw mix. Wasn't worth the effort. So our homemade fish tacos are made with homemade tortillas. These are so soft. I love homemade tortillas. So to bring it all together, we are going to top all of our fish tacos with homemade zucchini relish, which my mom made from her garden last year. We have chipotle aioli and our homemade coleslaw. And that is how we are topping our fish tacos. Homemade zucchini relish from my mom. Cheers to you.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Good job on the fish. It's so good. What do you think?
Really good.
Yeah, super delicious. All right, it is the next day and Reed and I are whipping up some jalapeno poppers, but these are not just going to be any kind of jalapeno poppers. They are going to be duck and dove jalapeno poppers. So what I'm doing right now is I'm going to go ahead and get the breasts of the duck and the dove into a bowl and I'm going to get them brining. I'm doing this at about noon and that way they can brine for about like 5 hours or so before it's time for dinner. And then that helps take out some of like the gaminess and the toughness of some of the wild game meat that is something that's very common. And this just really helps with their flavor profile. And what we're going to do afterwards is we are just going to rinse them off, pat them dry, and then we're going to get the jalapeno poppers assembled. And Reed is kind enough when he gets home from work to help me get the jalapenos cut in half and deveined and de-seeded. And this is going to help keep the jalapenos from being too terribly hot. It's also out of season, so you never know if you're going to get a hot jalapeno or not. But better safe than sorry, because if the jalapeno is too hot, I can't enjoy the jalapeno popper.
Are these teal?
It's teal and dove.
Okay, perfect.
It's a combo. All right, so Reed is kind enough to help me get the jalapeno poppers assembled. We don't have too terribly many. It'll depend on how many breasts we have. I didn't actually count before I went and bought the jalapeno poppers, so hopefully it's no more than 12. Because that's all the jalapeno halves we got. But we've got the bacon out, the cream cheese is softened, and we've got the oven preheating to 400 degrees. And we've got parchment paper on top of our baking sheet. And all we're gonna do is put a really healthy portion of cream cheese onto the jalapeno poppers. We're gonna put a individual breast on top of the popper, and then we're wrapping that bad boy in bacon. Wow, get down. No, this isn't for you. He literally came running out of the litter box.
Now he's all feisty.
No, it's not for you. Some of Boots' food pouches sound like the cream cheese, the way I'm opening the cream cheese, and so he thinks he's getting fed dinner again. He has been fed. He's a very well-fed cat. He just doesn't think so. No! What was that? He literally took a skip hop and like, meow. No!
Boots.
Look, Dad's got goose duck for you. He also gets wild game. Again, he's a bougie cat. He gets lake trout. He gets duck, goose, dove, elk, you name it. He lives the high life. So don't ever let him tell you otherwise. And jalapeno poppers are commonly more treated like an appetizer or a snack, but on this evening, Reed and I decided that they were just going to be an entire meal for the two of us. So some good friends of ours who taught us how to duck and goose hunt showed us how to make these jalapeno poppers with the duck and the dove meat. And this was actually one of the ways that the guys would like to spend their day in between hunts, is have a small little cookout with the duck and the geese that they would get. And so this has just become one of our absolute favorite ways to enjoy these birds, and it's delicious. And who doesn't love a good jalapeno popper, especially bacon? Bacon wrapped anything is just absolutely amazing.
So there's a duck breast and there's a dove breast.
And that's teal. It's an even smaller kind of duck compared to like a mallard, like a green-headed mallard. Teal is significantly smaller than those kinds of ducks as well. Yeah, so this series that I'm doing is how we cook wild game.
Oh, cool.
So this is just part of the first video I'm gonna do on this. So I was thinking I would do like we've got lake trout. You just gonna wrap the rest in bacon?
Yep.
Ho 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 ho! Oh, see, oh, okay, yeah. There's a couple. Here, give me that one. I'll give this a really good rinse and see if Boots likes it this time. And just like that, we've got some teal and dove jalapeno poppers, and we ran out of jalapenos, so I mean, dove and duck breast wrapped in bacon. I mean, I don't think you can go wrong. So we're gonna pop these into the oven for about 20 minutes. So our 20-minute timer just went off. I'm gonna say they need to go a little bit longer. We want that bacon to be a little crispier, and both dove and duck are better when they're on the rarer side. So we're gonna put them in for probably another 5 to 10 minutes. Look at that. And just like that, the jalapeno poppers are done. They did take about 35 minutes to cook at 40 degrees, but these are gonna be absolutely delicious for dinner tonight. What's up, everybody? It's another day. We are in the kitchen and I'm going to show you how we are using some of the meals in a jar that we prepared together. I'm currently using this as a nice convenience meal. All the prep work is done for me. I just need to dump the contents of this pot roast in a jar into a saucepan, get it heated up. It may need some more broth. I did experience some siphoning, but I have a lot that I need to get done this evening, so a convenience meal is what's happening for us. We also got home last night, had a lot to do from ice fishing, and the thought to pull something out for dinner didn't happen, which is also why I love having these on hand.
Go get her, Boots.
Alright, so all I'm gonna do, just gonna put the saucepan on the stovetop, and we're gonna crack open the jar. Fantastic. That sound right there is exactly what you want to hear when you are opening a canned item. It lets you know that it did have a good seal and that the seal was strong. Everything smells good. It looks delicious. There we go. Yeah, we're going to add a little bit of broth to this because there's not much. Just totally fine because I've got some home canned beef broth right here that we can add to our pot roast. We don't need all of this, so maybe I'll drink this or we'll put it in the fridge. It will get used. All I do is turn it on to about a medium heat. I'm gonna put the lid on it and we're gonna let it heat through. So this little tool my parents got for me. At one point a different company made it and then they discontinued it. It was a loved item, so somebody else decided to make it and bring it back. This is really handy for opening my canned items. However, you don't need this. You can also use just regular bottle opener that you have lying around. My only issue with this bottle opener, let me see, is when you go to pop open a lid, it's rather harsh and it does deform the lid, and then I can't even just use the flat lid for regular things to just store in the fridge because it just renders the lid useless. So if I can find a way to extend the life of the things we use, it saves us money in the end. Alright, so it hasn't even been like 5 minutes and our broth is boiling. I just want to make sure everything is nice and heated through. And what I think I want to do is turn some of this broth into a gravy. So let me thicken it up with some flour. we'll turn this down to a simmer. We're gonna go ahead, ladle some of the broth out. The only reason I did go ahead and add the broth first, I knew I wanted to add flour so we could thicken this up, but this kept everything from scorching on the bottom, everything heated through a little bit better. Okay. That should be enough for us to mix in some flour. Tablespoon, 1, 2. If you were with me when we made this recipe, I don't actually know what the recipe says to do when reheating it. Like if there was anything else it says to like add. I just kind of followed the recipe to get the meal in the jar, and then from there I've kind of just been winging it. And I mean, we're never disappointed. So all I did was add 2 tablespoons of flour with about half a cup of broth. And then we're gonna go ahead, we're just gonna add it back in. Sorry, I'm right-handed. We'll just add it back in and we'll thicken this sauce up. We'll let it keep simmering. Alright, so our pot roast and jar is done. It's ready to go. We're going to go ahead and get this dished on up. Now it's nice and thick. I don't like my pot roast soupy, which is also why I added flour. I'm trying to evenly distribute this between our 2 bowls. All right, honey, dinner's ready. There's a potato. Can't let that go to waste. And just like that, dinner came together in 10 minutes, all thanks to the work we did a while ago. All right, let's give her a taste test. It is hot. Reed's making faces at me. The meat is beautifully tender. There's probably a little extra pepper. It does have a little spice to it, but overall it's delicious. But overall this was delicious, and we'll see you guys next time.